Hello and welcome to Star Wars Newsnet Live. Today is October 10th, 2024. It is a wonderful time to be here and to be on the show today with some very lovely people. My name is Jay Goodell. Thank you so much for joining us. I am joined today with our very own Luke. Mr. Luke, how are you doing today?
It's a busy time at work, but we're doing well. I'm so thankful that Star Wars is in our lives because it's a very nice escape from the stresses of real life. So I'm really happy to be talking about some High Republic tonight.
Yes, we will be getting into some really awesome topics. We're going to do a High Republic ranking and tier list, actually, which will be a lot of fun. And we couldn't have a High Republic discussion without our very own Nate Manning, our head of the books and comics section here at Star Wars Newsnet, our resident High Republic expert. Mr. Nate, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, it's been a day, Jay. It's been a day. But I can't say I haven't been looking forward to this show all day. It's been kind of just my North Star in the chaos that's been my life today. But I'm excited to get into some High Republic. I wouldn't call myself an expert per se. There's some things on the tier list I haven't read, if I'm being honest.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
But we'll get into that.
Yes, I think you, Nate, and Luke are definitely, you guys have like some of the biggest like books and comics knowledge that I know of. So it's going to be great to discuss a lot of this stuff with you guys. For those of you who might be wondering, like our regular host, Mr. Tyler Bradshaw, is not here tonight, unfortunately. Couldn't be with us. He is, I'm sure he'd love to, have this conversation with us as well. But that's because he currently does reside in Florida, and, Hurricane Milton did strike over the past few, last night and, just recently. So we do hope to keep him in our thoughts, and just want to let you guys know that. Sending all the love to Mr. Tyler Bradshaw and our other people here on the staff who are also from that area. So
and everyone else that's been impacted by all the chaos that's been going on in the region. Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in, who loves Mr. Bradshaw. He will be hopefully back soon. So for tonight, though, we will be getting into, again, some High Republic discussion. And we'll start off with actually a few quick headlines, some quick stuff before getting into the main topic of discussion for tonight. So, also, I will want to mention, please do also feel free to chime in on the YouTube chat, on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever you may be viewing us. We love to bring in your thoughts all throughout this discussion for tonight. So let's get into some headlines. This week, Star Wars Celebration. There are some big announcements, actually, and some pretty cool announcements for those going to Star Wars Celebration. They showed off some of the badge arts, which I'll pull up in just a moment. So they had some really cool art that, very much so Japanese ukiyo-e inspired. And then they also had some announcements in regarding to the... I'm trying to blank here. Okay, cosplay, and then also the hotels that are available for attendees. Guys, are you, by any chance, will you guys be going to Star Wars Celebration this year?
Unfortunately, I will not be. It's a little bit too tall of a task for me to get out to Japan, but I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. Celebration is awesome. I went to the one when it was back in Chicago, and I had a lovely, lovely time.
Right.
So I can't wait to go again, but Japan is just a little bit too far outside the bubble.
No problem. Yeah. What about you, Luke?
Yeah, I can completely echo that sentiment. I would love nothing more than to go. I will not be able to make it to Japan in 2025. Hopefully the celebration after that, I can get to it. I've been to a con or two, like a Comic-Con here, there in Indy. And those have been really fun. So I can only imagine what Celebration would be like. It's just a huge, fun time of just Star Wars stuff. So I really
Yeah.
want to get to one. Hopefully the one after Japan. We'll see where that one is.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and pull up the badge art, which I thought was really cool. Let me go ahead and pull that up right here. Here we go.
Really, was there 4, I believe?
Yes, so 5 actually. So here's one for
Okay, nice.
Darth Vader. Yeah, the Darth Vader one is really cool. The Yoda one looks great. Luke is actually
Looks
like
good.
my personal favorite. I love the
I
Luke
like
one a
that
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ahsoka is probably my second favorite as well. And
Yeah.
then here's the Mandalorian and Grogu. So I wanted to ask you. So follow-up question though. Obviously, when I won't be going to Star Wars Celebration either. But what is like your what are you most hoping that to see at Star Wars Celebration? What's the biggest announcement that you guys are like just dying that we get a chance to that they reveal, like that they show off?
I think my biggest thing, it's definitely up there. I don't know if it's the biggest, but on the top of my mind is a new animated show.
Yeah.
I've kind of been expecting like something else to kind of continue on. We had Bad Batch for a while that was great to carry us through, and we have had sprinkled in Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire. Those have been pretty good fun projects. So I'm looking forward to, crossing my fingers, hoping for another animated project. I think Star Wars does really well with animation. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what they're going to do next. If they're going to do something next, I would love more from them. So
Yeah, no, we are just less than a year away actually, and yeah, still no like big news on regards to the animation side. Like we just finished off obviously the Bad Batch, and we had a second season of Tales of Blank, which was Tales of the Empire. So I'm that is definitely high up on the list. What about you, Nate? What is your like big dream thing that you hope to see from Star Wars Celebration? Just again, less than a year away now.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. And that's the thing with these big conventions like Celebration, they sneak up on you like no one's
Oh
business.
yeah.
It's incredible. When I remember when they first announced Japan and back in last year's Celebration, I'm like, 2 years? That's so far away. But now all of a sudden it's what, 6-7 months, and it's just flying by. But yeah, I was thinking earlier, and yeah, animation. A new series is definitely at the top of my hopes and dreams. I think it's probably a lock. We're getting the first trailer of Mandalorian and Grogu, so that's not really on my concerned list. Publishing, they'll do something with Trials of the Jedi, maybe even have early copies for those in Japan. I'll be very jealous. In terms of what else, I honestly don't know what they could announce. Maybe a new live action show, but I don't quite know where they would go with that.
Yeah.
That definitely be what I would like to know is what else. And I think the theme next year for Celebration is going to be what else is in the pipeline, because there's literally been nothing. Obviously, I would love more movie news. Last week we talked a lot about the Rey movie, and I think that would be good to update that. I would like to see Donald Glover talk about Lando. I would like to see that's a pipe dream. That's never going to happen. I would like to get James Mangold back out there, Dave Filoni talking about his movies. So
that'd be good. Yep.
We just need to know what's coming in the pipeline, because, of course, you guys never mentioned Young Jedi Adventures. The second half of season 2 will probably come out before Celebration. I think they said that the second half of season 2 is coming early 2024, so I feel like that'll come in the first quarter. Maybe it's not on anyone's radar, but Young Jedi Adventures season 3 announcement. Give me it.
Let's go.
It's probably too early to expect anything with the third Star Wars Jedi game. But what about another Star Wars game? What else did they have?
Yeah,
There's
I could see that.
there's that other there's that Respawn RTS game that's been long in
Yes.
development.
Hmm.
That I would love to learn more about that. What? Yeah, I mean, so live action series, animated series, any video game news. I feel like all those they have something ready. It's just
For sure.
tell us.
Yeah. Me personally, I'm most looking forward to any news on the Ray movie. Because obviously, like, and we've been talking about it extensively here on the channel, but it
Yep.
just seems like it's been super beleaguered, still no word on a script. It'd be great if, like, at Star Wars Celebration,
Yep.
have some good positive news. Let us bring out John Boyega, announce that he's coming back as Finn. So that's up on my list. Here in the chat, welcome Mr. Tyler Smith. He says, here is hoping for a new animated show, RG 2088. Yep. Good evening. Yeah, so there's still, again, we're less than a year away now. And we haven't had many updates on regards to movies. So I think, again, the Mandalorian and Grogu definitely, for sure, most likely going to get a trailer. Hopefully they make these trailers also public, not behind.
I would be shocked if they don't make it public, because that's the only thing
Right?
that's out of everything. That's pretty much the only thing that they have really announced. I think Andor is probably going to come.
Oh yeah,
before
that's true.
Celebration as well. I could see Andor being early 2025. So Andor might be done by that point. Or maybe they push Andor and maybe give us a trailer there. I don't know. I can't see them waiting that long.
Yeah, I can't either.
Yeah, with it being 12 episodes long, I mean it's probably like 9 to 10 weeks of content for any of these.
Then again, because Skeleton Crew starts end of December, so that'll be running until about February, mid-February, end of February.
Yeah.
I could see them waiting a couple months before Andor. Before Andor, so maybe
absolutely.
I can't see the first trailer for season 2 being at Celebration, but the final trailer.
Maybe.
Maybe they'll do what they did with Obi-Wan Kenobi and release it that week.
Oh, that's another possibility.
That's what I was leaning toward. Like maybe the first 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah,
drop.
I would do that. I'd do that because that's your big thing in 2025.
Like a day early or something.
Yeah.
We're on
so
the same page.
Lots to look forward to for Star Wars Celebration. And
real quickly, Luke, I don't know if you saw in our private chat, but your internet's kind of cutting in and out. I don't know if you noticed that at all.
I have not noticed that, so we will see what we can do about that.
If anything, I don't know. It seems to be a little better now, but
okay.
Yeah. Either way, we'll go ahead and trudge on. Hopefully,
move along.
Yeah. This actually just got announced today. I'll bring it up on screen. But Star Wars Jedi Power Battles is making a return. This was actually like a big fun favorite of mine, like as a kid. This was like a 2-player side-scrolling action game. And I was kind of surprised, like, well, I don't know why I feel like I shouldn't have been surprised considering how many retro like Star Wars games are coming to like PlayStation, and you had Star Wars Bounty Hunter come out not too long ago. But I did want to ask you guys, this is again one of my personal favorites, like retro Star Wars games. I want to ask, because I am like, again, also like the video games guy here. What is your guys' favorite retro Star Wars game? And I'll say like, I'm gonna say like the cutoff for like retro, like the anything like before, anything from and before the PlayStation 2 GameCube era and before. So I'll go ahead and start off and say my favorite Star Wars retro game. For me, Star Wars Rogue Leader, which is the second one in the Star Wars Rogue Squadron games. I love the Rogue Squadron games. They're a lot of fun. I always like I think those games like built within me like the desire to be like a pilot in the Star Wars universe. And like I always say, like, if I was in the Star Wars universe, I'd be a X-Wing pilot. And yeah, I loved those games growing up. And Rogue Squadron, the first one, was one of my first ever video games I ever played. But Rogue Leader, the one on GameCube, really took it up a notch. So I want to ask you guys, which is your favorite Star Wars retro video game?
I don't know if this really fits in, but I am going to say from back in the PS2 era,
Okay.
Lego Star Wars, the original first one.
Okay. No.
Where it's just only episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yep. That's a good one.
That was a lot of fun for me. I had, I was a kid. I was in like a basketball league, and I remember like it got snowed out, and I was like, "Yes, let's go! I get to go home play more Lego Star Wars." I was so excited to just play that game nonstop. So that's a good one for me.
Yeah, no, like the old retro Lego Star Wars games, they definitely do hit a special place in a lot of our hearts, for especially people of our age too. Nate, how about you? Do you have a special retro favorite Star Wars retro game?
The one I played the most, and it's only because it's the one I only, and it's only because it's the one I had growing up, until I got Lego Star Wars, and then that's kind of what I went to from there, and then Force Unleashed, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
But growing up, Super Nintendo, Super Star Wars.
Wow.
Super Star Wars. If you guys have never played those games, don't, because they are, oh man, they are the Dark Souls of Star Wars, if there ever was one.
Those games are hard. Yeah,
they're so hard. They're so ridiculously hard. If you guys know of the game Contra or something like that, it's basically Star Wars Contra, but it's impossible. Like, you cannot, like, it's funny because I remember they ported Super Star Wars to PlayStation, much like they're doing Jedi Power Battles on my PS4, and it's unplayable on PS4. I don't know what it is. Like, you can't play the game. Like, I don't know what the controls are. It's just so weird. You can't hit the bosses. You can't do it. It's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Because I could beat at least the first level as a kid and get at least almost off of Tatooine as a kid, but I could never get farther than that point. So that game was super hard, but I had a ton of fun growing up with that game nonetheless. That'll be a game I go back to at some point just to say I did this, because that's kind of the thing. Those old retro games, a lot of them are made to be that hard because they're so short, so you can get more playtime out of them. So that's one of those games for me that I will go back and one day beat. But for right now, that's just, that's the one game, the one Star Wars game that always sticks in my head when it comes to retro.
Correct me if I'm wrong too, but is Super Star Wars also the one where Darth Vader turns into a scorpion? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Maybe I don't know. I never got to that part of the game if it exists.
Okay, so I know
first boss of the game, there's a bunch of scorpions, and then the Sarlacc basically turns into a scorpion with how many freaking things it throws at you. So
I know I know it's okay. So here it is. I just looked it up. Okay, no, it's not Super Star Wars, but there is
this? I want to play it.
No, okay, so apparently here, hang on, I'll bring it up on screen. There is a Star Wars game where Darth Vader does in fact become a scorpion in a boss fight, and he just randomly turns into like a scorpion, and I remember seeing it, like I think, who was it, Angry Video Game Nerd or someone, like, they're the one who brought it up, but here it is. Japan only. Funny enough, Japan only. But it's on the NES, and
Japan. NES, no wonder.
Yeah, here's Luke. That's Darth Vader. Like this is Darth Vader's phase 2. If you thought Dark Souls had some funny phase 2 moments, there's come on, Wired. I don't want to subscribe. Sorry. Yeah, but there's a funny like phase 2. Here we go. I'm sorry. Actually, hang on. Let me show. Hang on. I did not realize like. Oh, come on, StreamYard.
Pull it together.
I did not realize like. Okay, hang on.
May not have the right layout.
Yeah, I know. I want to. Here we go. There we go. I didn't realize my head was like that big. There it is.
Jeez.
There it is. Yeah. Darth Scorpion rules this crazy Japan only Star Wars game. Yeah, again, I did not realize I did not realize my head took up that entire screen space. But yeah, no, like I said, if you thought Dark Souls had some bad phase 2 bosses, that's another funny, crazy second phase.
Love it.
So
love it.
Also I want to I feel like my brother would kill me if I didn't mention Shadows of the Empire.
Yep.
Shadows of the Empire.
Of course, you got to mention KOTOR as well. Got to mention KOTOR.
Yeah, KOTOR as well.
KOTOR.
Those are definitely like two of the most those are two games that actually just even went beyond Star Wars, influenced video game history in general. So definitely, yeah. Okay, so that concludes a bit of our lightning round. I do also want to quickly shout out.
Sorry, Vader.
We have actually.
Good to see you, Splash Page. Good to see you.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I do want to mention too that we did also have a podcast, the Monday podcast, where we did talk about Tyler, and I believe it was Miguel, who talked about Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2. Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2. There was some news, regarding Ewan McGregor. If you do want to check that out, that is on our YouTube page, for like a full deep dive of do we want another Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2, and what that would look like. So go ahead and check that out on our YouTube page. We're not going to cover that today, because we already covered it, but yeah, give that a listen as well. So let's launch into. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of fun here. There's going to be a lot of sparks going off. Let's go into our High Republic tier list.
Probably good Tyler is a tier because he would fight for everything in S tier.
Yeah. Sorry, Tyler.
Sorry, I love the High Republic, but there's only a few things that are worthy of S tier. Sorry.
So, big thank you to the tier list maker over here. This was last modified April 10th, 2024. So obviously, some of the more recent stuff will not be here. But that's good.
Missing, as far as I can tell, it's only missing Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone and Echoes of Fear, which are basically just getting underway. So they're not even fully. Yes, they're not full series yet. So.
They're not even fully out. Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll get a pass. Echoes of Fear, though, read it, guys. Read it. Echoes of Fear is great.
Okay, so so there's a lot of stuff that's still going on, obviously. Also too, we're I haven't actually caught up on everything Phase 3. I've been doing a lot of the comic book reviews for Phase 3, but Phase 3 is still underway, so it's not complete just yet. But no, I figured now is also a good time to get started on this conversation because Phase 3 is still going on. So I don't think I really need to break down what a tier list is, right? I mean, we've all seen these. S is the best, D is the worst. Well, I think we can even say we can even create we can go ahead and create further tiers if we really want to make one that's bottom tier, trash or something, do not read. But I think we'll keep it.
I don't know if there's anything that I'd even put in that tier, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
There's some stuff in here that I haven't thought about since I've read them. So
right, yeah,
we'll
see.
See.
So let's go ahead and take a look at this list. How about, let's just start with the one that started it all, Light of the Jedi. What do we think?
So
A?
I put that in my S tier, but I
Oh,
think A is also fair. I think
okay.
that's fair for it.
You see,
Okay.
for me, Light of the Jedi is my favorite High Republic book to this day.
Oh, wow.
It's one of the few that remain in S tier for me, but I also understand why some people put it down a little bit. For me, Light of the Jedi is just Game of Thrones meets Star Wars. It throws you right in and says, figure it out. And I love that for it. And it introduces you to every little facet of every single character, good,
Sure.
villain, neutral, and it just does a very good job of establishing this world. So for me, Light of the Jedi is an S tier, but that's just me.
Oh, okay. I'll be honest. Light of the Jedi is not my I did not really enjoy reading this. I think Charles Soule, I'm not a big fan of like his writing style, and I don't it like the way he yeah, I felt like it was the way his writing style is. It's kind of a little bit tough to read, and then constantly like switching between characters. Obviously, again, all these books do switch between characters and perspectives, but that book was all over the place. And for like a first book that's trying to introduce you to these characters, I'm like, what's going on? Who is this? But you guys seem to really like it though, huh?
I think I can see where you're coming from because
Yeah.
the book starts out getting you introduced. Chapter 1, all those people die. Chapter 2,
Yeah.
all those people die. And then it takes until chapter 3 and 4 to really start building on characters. I think something that was really interesting that really worked for me is it took until a third of the way through the book to even begin to flesh out the Nile. I liked how the first third of the book is kind of just the
Okay.
citizens and Jedi
Yeah.
talking about like, this crazy thing has happened. And we finally start to get some other half of the puzzle pieces where the Nile are like, we're actually over here in the shadows and like, let's start talking about it. Was kind of it worked for me to like wait so
Sure.
long to talk about this. I think as much as you don't like Charles Soule's writing, I think that's as much as I do. I do really like
Oh,
his writing
interesting.
style. So we're just
I go
opposite
back and
sides of the
forth on
coin
Charles
there.
Soule all the time. I go back and forth on his writing all the time. I think he is he's a lot like a George Lucas type of figure where he has such an insane brain. He has so many things that sometimes it doesn't come out in the best
Sure.
of ways. But for me, Light of the Jedi came out in the best of ways. But I'm cool with this in S or A. I'm cool with either one.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
comics. I like I like Charles Soule's comics. Novels, but I'll go
Well,
ahead
there's
and
only
put it.
one Star Wars novel of his, so
Oh, true. Yeah, that's true. So I put it up in S. Like we can probably put it down like in the
oh yeah,
lower S areas, like as we
it might end up in the
continue to-
lower end of S. But I
Yeah,
think just because of how much he accomplished in that first book, I think it has to be up there for sure, for me
sure.
at least.
Okay. Looking at this, let's stick with the S portion for now. And looking at this, I'm gonna put up another one. Cataclysm. I think,
Absolutely. I had that in my S as well.
It's an
yeah.
A for me, but I'll allow it.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
I'll
Lydia
allow
Cat-
it. I love the book. I love the book, but it takes. Yeah, I mean, Cataclysm is probably up till that point, up until another thing we'll get to later. I think Cataclysm is the most complete adult novel. Rising Storm has its slow parts. Fallen Star definitely does. Convergence. I'm sorry, Convergence. Convergence lowers on my tier list the more I think about it.
Yeah. So I'd put Cataclysm above Convergence. We'll get to Convergence soon.
Yeah. I still
Sticking
like
with-
Convergence. Don't get
Yeah,
me wrong.
I do too, actually. Yeah. Sticking with S tier, let's go ahead and I have another S tier.
You do.
Path of Vengeance. I think Path of Vengeance deserves
Absolutely,
to be
I had that there as well.
Yeah. My only complaint
I'm
with
overruled again.
Oh, okay. What did you put Path of Vengeance?
I think. All right, this is going to be a bit of a rant with another thing. Kevin Scott's Phase 2 comic and Path of Vengeance really get on my nerves for one specific reason, and it's the character of Olivia Zeveron.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I remember her now. Yeah.
She is part of the Convocation of the Force. And in the comic, Scott teases that she's related to the mother of the Path the Open Hands leader, but it's never addressed in that comic. And it's just like, who cares? Go read my book. Go read my book. I read the book, and it's a great follow-up, but I can't. So I don't know. But the rest of Path of Vengeance is really good. I submit to the committee that it goes an A, but
okay.
I am fine either way.
I'll tell you what though, my biggest issue with Path of Vengeance and with like Kevin Scott's writing in general, there's a huge emphasis on romance, and it feels forced. Who was so in Path of Vengeance? My memory is like kind of bad when it comes to like some of the books here, but in Path of Vengeance, the
Lynx win game 1. Let's go. Sorry, go on. WNBA finals, if anyone was curious as to why I'm.
Yes, Mr.
Nice.
Minnesota over here. But no, so going back to Path of Vengeance, who was the girl the
Marta Rowe?
Yeah, Marta Rowe, and then her
Bacana?
romance. Yeah, her romance with the other guy who spoiler alert. Well, actually, I don't know. But you know what? I feel like if you're watching this, you probably do have read a lot of these. So I'll like we'll go into spoilers anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like her big love interest, the big hulky alien dies, and like I never felt like any connection or like there was chemistry, and it was so forced because also her other
she's seeing
boyfriend
visions of the other dude.
Yeah, Kevmo, right?
Kevmo Zink.
Yeah, Kevmo. Yeah, and man, I apologize for like all the High Republic fans are probably offending, but like let's be honest, some of these names kind of hard to remember. But no, yeah, Kevmo Zink, you know, like it just felt really forced, and I couldn't like connect with her new boyfriend.
Another problem I have with Path of Vengeance, just to go out off right random tangent, not really respond to that point at all.
It's all good.
The Battle of Jeddah.
Yeah.
Getting through that first third of Path of Vengeance was a struggle for me because I have been reading, because at that point, I had been reading Battle of Jeddah stuff for so long, and it's all good. It's all good, but please get to something else. Please. So, yeah, that dragged it down a little bit for me. And then rereading some of the same stuff with the Battle of Dalna that I already previously read in Cataclysm. So Path of Vengeance really felt like a retread of a lot of ideas in Phase 2. It's a really good finale to Phase 2. It's really good in that respect. It wraps up a lot of the characters and whatnot. So it's still a solid read, and it's not my favorite. Personally.
Yeah, rethinking about it, like I'm putting it at the lower probably end of the S tier, because it's great, it's really good, but definitely a lot of flaws. Okay,
and if I could respond to Marta Rowe and Bocana not working, I think
Bocana, that was his name.
That is good, because I think her really did have something, how they're both really entrenched in their religions and their opposing religions, but that kind of, opposites attract. There was really something there that was compelling about their relationship romantically. And I think that Kevin Scott wrote, in my opinion, Kevin Scott wrote the book on it to just kind of be like a rebound boyfriend. Like, I don't think he's
Yeah,
supposed to
okay.
be. I don't think he's supposed to be like a heartthrob, like great match for her. I think that's the point, and she
Yeah.
even knows that. I think she knows that.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, it's not supposed to be fantastic. It's a rebound. So
So yeah, I mean, Path of Vengeance again, like good, but I don't know. Like, yeah, that was my biggest issue, the romance. But either way, Path of Vengeance, I think good S, but not
some
the
really
best.
crazy Planet X stuff going on in there.
Oh, dude,
Crazy
yeah,
stuff.
I actually did
Oh, I
like
love
that
Planet
stuff.
X. If there's
Um,
if we ever do a locations tier list, Planet X is going right to the top of that list.
Exactly.
I adore everything. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Yes.
The visuals and the idea and the lore.
Yeah.
Speaking of Planet X, Quest for Planet X, do you want to jump to that one? Where would you put that? Did
Right
you guys?
there in C, honestly.
Oh, C. All right, all right.
It's
Say,
not
where
that
is that
memorable
one?
for me, honestly. I don't remember a whole lot from it. I remember reading it and having a good time with it, but it's a kid's book at the end of the day. I mean, there's
Sure.
only so
So
much
let me ask you.
substance with it.
Tears of the Nameless, does that have something to do with Travix Prime? The planet? I think that shows up in Quest for Planet X first. Yeah, I will say I actually just recently read Quest for Planet X because I've been trying to catch up on every single book in the High Republic. So I have read that in the past 2 months here.
Oh
and
wow.
It was a fine book. I think I actually liked Quest for the Hidden City a little better than Quest for
I
Planet
did
X,
too.
but
I did too.
there we go. It
B?
was not a bad book. So
I'd put that in B for sure.
Sure.
Quest for the City is a great kind of like goosebumpy type of book for the kiddos. It's not too
Absolutely.
scary. It has some good characters and good relationships. It has some good themes. Quest for Planet X is totally fine. There's nothing horribly wrong with it. There's just nothing really memorable in it.
Sure.
Yeah, for me at least.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw in another personal S tier of mine, and it's Star Wars: The
Ooh.
High Republic: The Blade. This is
Okay.
fantastic. Like I think this is one of the such a good comic book for Phase 2.
Yeah, I had that in my A, but I will gladly bump it up to S. I even bought the trade paperback of it, so I have the whole thing. So
Yeah.
I loved Porter Engle. Is a cool character who gets
Yeah.
you introduced to Light of the Jedi. Thank you, Light of the Jedi. And so this is a really cool flash. I mean, Light of the Jedi references his past a couple times
Yes.
when they're bringing up this character, like, he used to be this great warrior. He used to be this, he's kind of getting back into that mode of when he used to be a good warrior. Well, guess what? Pick up the blade. This is telling you exactly how good he was in his prime. It's really rewarding as a Light of the Jedi fan.
Yep. And then of course it becomes even more important as you go into Phase 3. It's the rivalry that spawns from it. And it's one of the shining stars.
Exactly.
I love the dynamic between General Weiss and Porter in their Phase 3 interactions. And that all stems from the blade. The blade is also an A for me, but I'm cool with it. An S, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably one of the better comics for sure. It's definitely one of the better comics, that's for sure.
So that's all I have for S right now. What about you guys? Is there another one or any here that you feel like you really want to put into S and you believe belongs there?
I think what's funny is we have Path of Vengeance up there, and I actually liked Path of Deceit even more. I think I liked that book more than Path of Vengeance. And then what's
Okay.
funny is we put we put Cataclysm in S.
Yeah.
And me personally, I read Convergence and was like, I think I like that one, like almost maybe my favorite Star Wars book. Like it's one of my top Star Wars books. So it's just funny how like the twin sister, like the sister book of the other one is up there. So yeah, I'm cool with A wherever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I just put these two like like as placeholders. We can talk about it more, but
That's
yeah.
fine.
I think A is good for both of
Okay.
those.
Yeah.
The first half of Convergence is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But the moments Ziri and Fontu get like engaged and they go on their little planet hopping tour, it just drags. The rest of the
Yeah,
book just like
it does.
stops.
Yeah.
And it loses me until like the very end and their wedding and whatnot, and that's a lot of fun and everything with Axel at that point. That's a lot of fun, but getting to that, Convergence just dies. It just dies.
So I think I kind of get that. I will say where there's like the double romance of Ziri and Fawn 2 in the first half that's getting built up to, and the middle, like you said, they have their engagement, they're getting married, and I feel like that's where they kind of stop having the spotlight, and then it's
Mhm.
Axel and Gela that kind of have
Yeah,
flirtatious
I
and will
think
they,
you're right.
won't they vibes. So it
A
kind of
dynamic I never really
still-
attached to, so it didn't really
Okay.
impact me until we got to Cataclysm. Cataclysm is where
Okay.
that relationship soared. Whereas
Absolutely.
Convergence, it was just kind of there. But at the end of Convergence, I really wanted to see what would happen to it because that's where it got really interesting.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because Gela realized at that point, oh, Axel's a lot more messed up than I realized. How am I going to accept this and move forward with this knowledge? And that's a very interesting character, and they have a very interesting dynamic in Cataclysm because of that. But in terms of Convergence, sorry, Gela, not for me.
All good.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw up a few more quickfire A tier items. Rising Storm, Fallen Star.
Okay.
I'm cool with both of those.
Yep.
Today.
Okay, so let's see here. I think I like Rising Storm better than Fallen Star, but they're both an A tier. So I put that a little bit forward. A few more A tier ones. The three manga Edge of Balance mangas I think are both really great. The fourth one I'm gonna put down in B because I think that one does drop in quality. So
I think
as
that's
far
fair.
as the
I
okay.
think so too.
Edge of Balance.
I popped hard. I'm a big wrestling guy. And we call a pop. We cheer. We hop up in our seats. We go wild. Edge of Balance Volume 3 has some of my greatest pops. Spoilers if you haven't read it. When Aslan Rel steps up to the plate and takes on that Nameless and says, "I am done being scared. I'm gonna win this day." It's such a great moment. It's such a great moment. But beyond that, there's not really a whole lot going on in it, but it's still good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seeing all the heroes kind of like together to take on this threat that they won't beat, but they're still going to do it because they're the heroes, and that's awesome. So, so that moment's cool.
I'm going to throw in High Republic Adventures Phase 1 in there.
Oh, yeah. That was really
Phase
good.
1, for sure.
Yep.
It starts out really strong.
It does.
That series. That first arc of High Republic Adventures is some of my favorite comics in the whole initiative. The dynamic between Zine and Lula and Crix and that kind of like three-way like push-pull.
Yeah.
That's not an all ages comic type of dynamic. It's very dense and mature, and it's just it's really interesting the way they go about telling that story, as well as Older's writing and how he goes about it as well. So
I think
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think High Republic Adventures, great first half. Second half, the reason why it's an A is because it kind of slows and dulls a little bit in the second half, especially when you have like again. Funny enough, I like the Lula and Zine romance. I feel again just doesn't work for me as well. I feel like maybe it's like the romance stuff. Maybe I'm just allergic to that stuff in the High Republic. But yeah, that's why it's an A. What about you, Luke? What are your thoughts on High Republic Adventures? Since it is one of the better, I think it's one of the better Star Wars High Republic comics.
Yeah, I can agree. And like Nate said, it starts off extremely well, like the Trimant 4 stuff, and you're
Yeah.
getting really good
It has a lot of early
exposition.
lore too. It has a lot of early lore
Yeah.
because you see Markion Row is already on the
Yeah.
trail to get the nameless and whatnot. So there's a lot of little things that you go back
Yeah.
and read, and it's like, wow, they're planting all these seeds this early. It's really good stuff.
I think that's what my favorite thing about it was, is I've only started reading comics, Star Wars comics, this year. So I've been reading these books for a couple of years. And when I picked up, I finally got around to this, I was like, oh my gosh, back in 2021, they were seeding, the Echo Stone. They were seeding the Rod of Seasons and stuff. I was like, this is crazy. This is so cool that they had, just behind the scenes, like so far ahead and seeded this stuff so well. I was just really impressed with the way that they were able to like put these projects together and line them up. I was like, great job, DJO. Like, great job, Team Luminous. Like, that was good stuff.
Yeah. So, anything else? So I haven't read, like, again, I probably have read like the least amount, but that's my tier list so far in A. Any other stuff you guys want to put in A?
All right.
I have the Storm comic because I thought that was pretty good.
An A.
I have the Storm comic. Which one is
in A?
The top row next to Battle of Jeddah. The second
Oh, there it is.
one.
Yes. Okay. So Nate, I haven't read this one, but your thoughts? You're like an A.
It's really good. It's really good. But is it like that good because of, or is it just more based on the exposition? Because it's a very exposition heavy comic.
Okay,
it is.
That's not for everybody.
Yeah.
That's not for everyone. But it's Markion Row, and Markion Row rules. And it's Charles Soule writing Markion Row, which is always good.
I guess it felt like a comic series around
A or top end of B for me with that.
Yeah.
That's
Go ahead,
fair.
Luke.
Mark and Rowe is the top of the enemy. So it felt like, you hardly ever see anything about Palpatine. There's not like books necessarily about him or like comics centered on him. It's always like he's there in the shadows. And so that's often how Markian Rowe feels in these books in this kind of era. Not always, but sometimes is that feeling. So I just was really happy to have this comic that was like, he's the main character, basically. Like, we're going to learn a lot about him, the main villain. So I was just stoked that we got a lot of exposition, not exactly engaging, super awesome story, but it was just a lot of information that I wanted. So
it's really good exposition. It's exposition, but the good kind, and borders on great. So yeah, I think A is fine.
I'm lower end of Aiden.
Let's see, what do we have in B right now? Oh, it's above
B,
those two right now. And
yeah,
it's not on the same level as Quest for Hidden City or Edge of Balance. So A is fine for right now.
Let's move on to B then.
We will see when the tiers develop a bit more.
Yeah, so we still have quite a few big ones, actually. Another big one, High Republic main comic B. Phase 2, I should clarify.
I think that's fair. I actually had that there on my own personal ranking.
Okay.
I think that's yeah. I'm looking at A right now and looking at there. Yeah, I'm cool with that. It's a comic I really like. Phase 2 is notable for, and I think that's why we love Path of Deceit and Path of Vengeance as much as we do, is because it introduces you to so many different viewpoints of the Force and all these different things, and that's kind of the staple of that comic. But in terms of like everything else about the comic, Battle of Jeddah, the actual audio drama, does it better. So,
true.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think B is a good place for that.
Let's talk Battle of Jeddah then, because personally was around like C, but B.
I'd
you
probably
guys?
put it in B as well. I wouldn't put it in
Okay.
A.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd
That's
probably put it above
Yeah,
that
so go
comic,
one higher
but
to B.
but I think B is a good place for it.
fine.
Yes, right there,
I
right
think.
there. I think it's just a
Oh, okay.
tiny bit better. It's not as good as the others. Battle of Jeddah has like, I don't want to say necessarily major problems because it's
Sure.
well told, but it takes
Yeah.
a little bit to
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually, yeah.
yeah.
It takes a little bit of time to get going.
And then
I
when
think
it
like
does, it's not
yeah.
particularly engaging per se. It's still like George Mann does a great job of selling you on the conflict and making it feel epic. And the actual audio drama aspect adds to that with all the sound effects and
Yeah.
the score and all that stuff. So it definitely feels like a cataclysmic event. But when you read the actual script version of it, you realize,
Which I did.
yeah, no, the audio drama portion kind of makes that thing.
Okay. I think here's another one, big one. Phase 1, High Republic main comic run for Marvel by Kevin Scott.
I
Go ahead.
forgot about that one. That is one of my S tier ones.
I
Wow.
was gonna say, actually, I had that in S. I don't know if I have a strong argument for it, but I did have
I
it
don't
there.
know if I
did
do
enjoy
either, but for me, it's just a really good comic. It's
It's
just
pretty
a
solid
really
start
good
to
comic
finish.
with
Really?
a lot of with a good variety of arcs all across the board. You have your first arc, and you have all the main characters. You introduce them. You introduce the dynamic between Keeve and Skier, and then you
Yeah.
go into the Dreadgear stuff, and then you move into this, and then you have the Keeve undercover arc with the Huts. Then you have some other stuff. Then you have the Fall of Starlight Beacon. So there's so much always going on. It's just a fun read. It's just a really fun read for me.
Huh.
I look forward to reading
Yeah,
that
I don't
thing
think it-
every single month. So for me, it's an S or low S, high A. But that is my feeling on it. I
Yeah,
will
I
let you
think
guys take the floor.
each arc did well. Like it never lost me. So I was pretty interested in Keeve, her getting brought up by Skier. The Drengir stuff gets mentioned. It's hit on and Into the Dark, but that's about the biggest spotlight it has outside of this comic. So this comic was also a really good, just like, what are the Drengir? How do they work? How are they defeated? So it was good there. And then we have, yes, Undercover Huts. And
It's just really
well,
good
also,
Star Wars.
yeah,
It does Star
some-
Wars really
yeah,
well.
it's just it's
There's
good.
a lot of action and a whole lot of
Start to finish.
politics and all this stuff. So it's just a really solid comic all around.
I'll put it here in A, like mid A.
Yeah, A is fine. Yep, I'm
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
I'm cool with A. I'm not gonna fight for S. I
Yeah.
think it's an S for me, but
I'm not gonna
for
fight for
everyone
B
else, like
either.
yeah.
Okay. That's any other. So we're filling out B. Why don't you guys throw out some other Bs that you had? Oh, actually, Tales of Light and Life, B.
B.
Okay.
Yep. There's some cool stuff in there, but there's nothing groundbreaking. There's nothing
Yeah.
groundbreaking in there.
Yeah.
Besides the
Buryaga
Bell and Burry
lives.
story, besides
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one, that's the one that stands out in there. Everything else, it's good.
That was insane to me that they were like, hey, by the way, you find out Buryaga lives in this book. And I was kind of wondering how they were going to touch on that in Eye of Darkness. And
Yeah.
Yeah, but they
I
just
feel like
said,
if I
"Yeah,
hadn't
we're not
read
gonna."
Tales of Light and Life and I just jumped into Eye of Darkness, I would have been like, whoa, hold on, he lived and they got
Yeah,
saved? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
whoa,
No,
why
I'm
aren't
not
we
seeing it
focusing on
on
that more?
here. I'm not seeing it on here, but Shadows of Starlight, that comic on that 4-issue run has an issue that retells that story too. But I'm not seeing it in this tier list.
Oh, you're
so,
right. Yeah, it's not on here. Shadows
yeah.
of Starlight.
I would put that in. I'd probably put that high B, that miniseries.
I was
going
gonna say, yeah, high B sounds pretty fair for that.
Yeah. Same reason as Tales of Light and Life. The stories in it are really good, but it's just there to fill until we get to the next big thing.
Right.
Speaking of Eye of Darkness, where
Eye
are
of
we thinking?
Darkness.
All right, Nate, where'd you put it?
Show me the A tier.
Here's the
Does
A
it go
Ooh.
A? Does it go A?
I had B.
low. I mid, like right there. Oh no, I think right there. Yeah,
Top
I don't
of
think it's,
B.
I don't think it's better than Tales of Light and Life.
I think it is.
I
but
think Eye of
but
Darkness
does
is
it
better than
reach?
Tales of Light and Life.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I it is better than Tales of Light and Life. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just there's so much that happens in Eye of Darkness that just means so much more, and for that
Sure.
alone, I think it's.
Yeah.
I think B is good for now. I think I might.
I could see it being A. I'm not against it. I could see it being A because
I'm envisioning it in A, but
Avar
I don't
and
know if I can get it
Elzar get
quite there.
reunited.
I don't know if I can get it quite there. The third act of Eye of Darkness is so good. It
It's
is
very
so
good. Yes.
I love that third act to pieces. I remember reviewing that book for the site and being so far behind and finishing
Yeah.
it. But then I got to the third act and I just blew through it in a single night. And it's like, oh, perfect. I'm
Nice.
done. All right, now I have like a week to write this review. Love it. Awesome. Whereas before
Okay.
I was expecting to only have like a weekend.
So, Eye of Darkness, Tales of Light and Life, Quest of the Hidden City, Edge of Balance Volume 3, Battle of Jeddah, High Republic Phase 2 are all in B. Any other B items you guys want to put in there?
I'm
For
sure
B, I
there's some
had Defy the Storm
more.
as well.
Defy the Storm.
Defy the Storm. So that's in B?
I had it there. It was.
Okay. Honestly, I never finished it. So I'm not the one to talk about. Yeah, I'm not going to argue for it. What I have read
I
of
feel like
Defy
I was
the
trying
Storm,
to do too much.
It's not for me. Justina Ireland's writing is just not for me per se.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Tessa Gratton is. So, and
Right.
for that, speaking of Tessa Gratton, Temptation of the Force is still
Let's go
sitting down there.
Yeah.
For me, that's an S tier. For me, that's an S tier. Now I'm looking at it.
Okay.
I had that in S. I thought that was a very good book. I really enjoyed
I have
that.
not gotten to it yet. So
Temptation of the Force is so good.
gotta get around to it. Yep.
You talked about how you're allergic to High Republic romance. I challenge you to feel that same way after reading Temptation of the Force. Beyond that, there's some incredible sequences in this book, some awesome conversations about the meaning of the Force, and some incredible lore with Markion Ro, and well, spoilers, the Drengir are back, and the Blight and all this stuff, and the Nameless. Temptation of the Force does so much right. It does so much right, and up until you get to the Battle of Naboo, I think it's the perfect Star Wars book. It does nothing wrong, and then everything after Naboo, while not as good, it's still top tier Star Wars. There are some moments in there that floored me. It's so good. Temptation of the Force is just really, really strong.
I'm with you.
Okay. I'll get around to it. I gotta catch up on Phase 3 for sure. So let's just start. Like we're coming down to the final few items.
Yeah, there's a lot of these are the miscellaneous ones.
Yeah.
Some are really good, but we'll have to go through them a little bit.
High Republic Adventures Phase 2 C.
For me, it's a D. Honestly,
I think that's okay.
I like the art though.
I think we're good with either one.
Yeah, I like the art, so that's why I kind of put it in C.
I get what Daniel Jose Older was doing with it, but it just the week to week and the month to month of reading this thing just
yeah.
I
know what you mean.
But there's an incredible issue with Thurm's Scissor Punch, so I'm okay with C.
Exactly.
Into the Dark. How do we feel about that one? first
like
young
that one.
adult one.
Into the
Oh, is it?
Dark, I think slots nice into B.
B. Okay.
Yeah,
Mid B.
B,
Okay.
mid B, mid B is
It's
fine.
really
Yeah, I
good.
think that's a good place.
It's really good, but I don't think it cracks that upper echelon of stories.
Yeah,
Sticking with the young adult novels, which one came second? Was it Midnight Horizon or Out of the Shadows? Midnight Horizon, right?
Out of the Shadows
Out
was
of-
second.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep,
okay,
Out of
okay.
the Shadows.
Oh, sticking again with young adult, Out of the Shadows.
C.
C.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a bit lower than Into the Dark for me.
Okay.
I
It
did
just
not
felt
like
a
Out of the
little
Shadows at
too
all. I
convoluted.
did not like that.
Yeah, I
book.
was gonna say. It was maybe one of the only times I've finished a High Republic or even Star Wars book and been like, I don't know about that.
It took me so long to read this book and the next time and the next young adult book because they were just so, I don't want to say full of themselves, but they kind of were. They're very self-indulgent in how they went about telling their stories. It's like, I get it. Move along. Move
Yeah.
to the next thing.
Yeah.
Please. Midnight Horizon. I put
Yeah.
that in C2. I
Okay.
don't care about any
I
of
really
these
like
random
Midnight
stickers
Horizon.
on Corellia. I don't care. Get to the next thing, please. Because the third act of Midnight Horizon is really good. I want to
mean-
get there quicker.
I think that's why it bumped up to B for me. I really, really liked Midnight Horizon. But yeah, I think
If y'all want
If
to
you
put it
weren't
in
feeling
B,
it.
cool. But like, was not
we can
for
keep
me.
it C.
Was not for
It's
me.
fine.
Okay. Okay. I hate to Nate, I hate to
Sure,
hear your
sure,
thoughts on
sure.
D tier. Okay. So that's the young adult stuff. Let's move on to some of the more kid stuff. I don't know. A Test of Courage. C, because maybe Renée Cherel.
I think it's a better than C because
Okay.
it's a
Maybe.
really good Verne story and Emery
It
story.
is.
Honestly, I don't remember much from it, if I'm being totally honest.
So, and again, I just read this year as well. And I thought it was a pretty good kids book, but like there isn't much action. It's so much about what's going on inside each character's head. There isn't really like a lot of stuff that happens in the book. It's they leave Hynestia, they crash, they get rescued. I mean, that's the whole book. It's just a lot of internal processing. A lot of people.
It's a mature book
Yeah,
for children
it's a lot
because
of
it's dealing a
internal
lot
character
with
stuff.
death and the fall of Starlight Beacon, or not the fall of Starlight Beacon, the
Just
Great Disaster.
the Great
and-
Disaster.
yeah, it's definitely worth a read. It's
Yeah.
definitely good. But yeah, I don't remember much from it, but I remember reading it and being like, "Whoa, this is heavy." at points.
Yeah, for a middle grade book.
Okay. So Test of Courage going into B.
We could do Race to Crash Point Tower was the next book, and I would put that at C.
C.
I'm putting that
Okay.
in C.
Okay.
That's a strong C.
Thought it was
It's
strong C.
good.
Yeah.
It's fine, but its only purpose is to close up. It's to show another point of view to Rising Storm. That's the book.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
book. That's the entire book. If you want to know what Lula and Ram are up to during the Republic Fair and the Valo attack, read that one. Otherwise, you don't have to. It's good. It's perfectly fine, but it's middle of the road.
Yeah.
C.
And so then after that would be Mission
Final
to
one.
Disaster.
Yeah.
Mission to Disaster. It's better than Race to Crash Point Tower.
It is, but it might still be C.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe the lowest B possible. I don't know.
I'm putting it right here for now.
I think
I'd put it above the High Republic Adventures Phase 2 run.
Okay. High B,
Okay.
low B, low B.
Low B? I'm okay with low B. I'm okay with low B.
Okay.
Mission to Disaster is another one of these young reader books that is a little bit more mature in how it presents its story, and there's some really interesting stakes that Vernestra and Emery have to overcome in this book. So yeah, so Mission Disaster is really cool. But yeah,
Some
low
good
B,
Avant
high
Stars
C.
content.
Yep. It sets up Fallen Star pretty well, all things considered,
Okay,
and how
cool.
it ends.
Let's get into some of the more miscellaneous, some of the more forgotten, quote unquote, comic books. The Monster of Temple Peak.
I haven't forgotten some of these. Some of these are amazing.
Yeah.
But Monster Temple Peak is not one of them. It is not one of them.
I was gonna say, are you saying that it's amazing? Because no hate, but I wasn't impressed. Right?
I am not a huge fan of Monster. As we have spent more time with Ty and Druin, I like them a tiny bit more, but I'm not going to pretend they're my favorite characters in the world.
Yeah.
As low as D, is that our first D? It's definitely the least essential on this list so far.
Yeah.
It might be.
I didn't think it was great.
D it is.
Something's got to be there.
Okay.
Something's got to fill that. Sorry.
The Nameless Terror.
I thought that was
love
really
this
good.
series.
I really enjoyed
love
it.
this
I'll say that.
I love this series to pieces. I'd put it as high as A.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. That's a fair placing. Somewhere in the low A's.
It is Star Wars meets Aliens meets Jaws, and it's for kids. It is
that was
so
really
good.
enjoyable.
It is so much fun. It is brutal, and it's kind of scary the way it's drawn. Like the art is really striking, especially because it's drawn and it's colored in a way that it's always so bright. But then the Nameless come in and they make it so horrifying. Like some of the best scares are in the bright of day, and like, woo!
Absolutely.
Okay.
What do we got there?
This is Quest of the Jedi,
Quest of
right?
the Jedi.
Here. Yeah, with Claudia Gray, the one shot.
I thought that was pretty good too. I
enjoyed this one quite a bit. As we have gotten into phase 3, this comic has risen up the tier list.
That's true. That's true.
With Echoes of Fear, Tears of the Nameless. Is it an A comic though?
B?
High B.
High B.
High B.
I could put it there. Third on B.
I think I could probably. I think on my personal list, I'd probably have it in A, but yeah, I don't know. But B is cool too. B is cool too.
I'm willing to put it up in like A. Where in A would you say, Nate?
I'd probably put it right at the bottom of A, if anything.
Right at the bottom of A. Okay.
Yeah. Because it has become a very essential comic.
Sure.
And
yeah,
Claudia Gray nailed that comic.
Yep.
And now that we know more context regarding all that
stuff, that's true.
That comic is only its stock is rising quickly.
Tempest Runner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's go Tempest Runner. Audiobook. First audiobook.
I really liked it.
Okay, I enjoyed it. I probably would have.
I don't know if I
put it in my B.
High B.
I'd say top of B. I'd say top of B for me.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the character of Lorna, so
she's cool.
So that one really fleshed out a lot of stuff with that, and the Rowe family as well, and some other things too. I mean, if any of you have read my stuff and me talking about audiobooks, I'm an audiobook guy. I love the audio dramas and all this stuff, so I'm a sucker for them. So in Tempest Runner, mixed some of my favorite characters and mixed everything I love in consuming this stuff. So
next up, as we come down to the final few, that Trial of Shadows. I don't remember this one.
Trail of Shadows.
I thought this was really good. This was like trying to answer all the questions that I had of phase 1.
But did it though? But did it at the end?
It didn't necessarily answer them. I was like, why is no one asking these questions? And so we have Emmerich Kaftor being like, what is going on with these nameless? And I was like, thank you. That's what I'm wondering. Like, I'm glad someone's at least on the case.
It's a cool
So, I
noir
had a good
story,
time with it.
but I was lost for a lot of this series. I think Daniel Jose Older, who wrote that series, got lost in the details so freaking much, and I just couldn't get into it until like issue 3 or 4, when basically when the investigation was forced to pause because Starlight Beacon is on fire, so they had to like stop everything and then try to like fight off the Nameless. And issue 5 of that series is amazing when I can't remember who has to come face to face with the Nameless, but I remember it being really cool. So fine series, but I don't know. Some people really glaze over this series and think it's one of the better comics. For me, it takes like I was lost for a lot of it.
B?
That's fair.
Okay.
We could maybe settle on B.
Starlight Stories.
I just finished this yesterday. I'm gonna have to go D.
I've never read. I've only glanced at the short stories. I haven't read them. But what I have gathered and from what other people say about them, which is nothing at all. No one ever talks about the short stories ever.
No.
Luke did say,
I think
like,
for
he did
Starlight
at the-
Stories, we'll put it D. And you know what? Might as well put Tales of Enlightenment at D. Maybe C if someone's feeling crazy about it. But both of those
Didn't
were
read
just
them
kind
either,
of fun.
so
Like,
I can't fight for them. I haven't read them. So
yeah. You don't really need them. Honestly, there was one from Starlight Stories that I was like, okay, you kind of maybe could have used this, and that's only if you had read the Courage. I think it mentions like gets captured and it kind of explains what happens there, and that's not important to the High Republic overarching story. So they're not essential, but they're kind of just so weird. I had to force myself to get through them. I did.
yeah.
I think that's a good indication. It's probably a D tier. Escape from Valo.
I really liked Escape from Valo. I think that might be.
Okay.
I think that might be my favorite middle grade book so far.
Wow.
So, Nate, do you completely disagree?
I don't entirely disagree, but Escape from Valo wasn't necessarily for me. It was another book that took me a long time to get through.
A is a little high. I didn't even have it. I had it in B, and that's my favorite middle grade book. So
Middle
maybe
grade,
mid-B, yeah, honestly,
right there.
behind
Yeah.
Into the Dark is perfectly fine for me.
Okay.
Sure.
Unless Nate wants to go lower.
It's not as bad as the C tier. I think it's better than the C tier entries. So B is fine.
Yeah.
High Republic Phase 3.
Kevin Scott, this one was not it. Sorry, bud.
C, maybe low C. Yeah.
What do you think? Like above or below young adult?
Above,
I think
for
I
sure.
Lowest C. Okay.
Lowest C?
That's where I was gonna put it. It's been.
I struggled with this series. Man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go C too.
Right.
Like low C. Yeah.
I struggled with it. Man, like there was no direction at all in this thing. Like,
yeah.
It read as if Kevin Scott knew he had an audio drama and a whole other comic to tell this full wide arcing story, and it left that 10-issue comic feeling just incomplete. So
wrap it up here because I've got too much left to tell.
Wrecked a lot of the tension throughout, and so and
here's Tay Sirik back. What?
I know. Oh, there's a random flashback to my Phase 2 run that isn't really going to add to anything, but I know it's going to pop the internet, and sure enough, it did. It did. I like the relationship, but it's like, man, like, what are we doing here? There's no direction in this series at all.
Yeah.
So
okay. So we're
Not
coming
my
down to
favorite.
the final four.
We are real
I'm
close here.
I'm not gonna include High Republic Adventures Phase 3 because it's not done yet, right? I think that'd be unfair.
That's fair.
So Beware the Nameless.
Just finished that this month. I thought it was okay. I think we could go low B, high C, maybe.
I'm pushing for B on this bad boy.
Oh,
All
D,
right.
really?
I'm pushing B.
B,
as in
okay,
boy.
yeah. Okay.
This might be
I
my
was like,
favorite.
wow.
Beware the Nameless might be my favorite middle grade book. I love this thing
Big
to
respect. I
pieces.
respect that.
I love this thing to pieces. It's so much fun. I love that book.
Okay. So B, maybe like below Defy the Storm. What do you think, Nate?
I haven't read Defy the Storm, so I can't say. So
I think you could put it above Defy the Storm.
Above Defy the Storm, so that'll be
Sure.
placing it above Phase 2 High Republic.
I think that's
Sure.
Okay.
I'd probably even put it above the Battle of Jeddah audio drama for me personally.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'll put it there then.
If we want to slot those three together, kind of as those three middle grade books, Escape from Valo.
Oh, that's true. Sure.
Yep. And those three are kind of about the same level of quality in my book. So
okay.
Escape from Valo is a little bit lower on that one,
but moving on. Saber for Hire. Ty Yorick.
I just finished
this just
that
came out
today.
today.
Yeah.
you finished it.
Up.
You finished it. The only good issue is the last one.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, the first three I was like, do we need this?
It's
Poor
above
Ty
Monster
Yorick.
Temple Peak. Does it go to C?
I think that's the
Ty.
perfect spot for it. The highest D it can be.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Which one is this one? I can't even.
That is Crash Landing.
Crash Landing. Yes.
Crash Landing.
Crash Landing and Crash and Burn. It's kind of a 2-issue type of arc.
I did read it, but I don't really remember. It didn't feel very memorable.
It
to
goes
me.
at D as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I like the issues, but when we're putting it on top of everything else, it's got to sit in D. It does some cool things with Crash, but its main plot line is trying to sell us that Crix Camerat is going to stop Markion Row way before the finale of the High Republic. So what are we doing here? Again, Daniel Jose Holder. What are we doing here?
And then I guess it's
Final
not
one.
here, but Crash. So that was Crash and Burn. Then we have Crash Landing, right? After that, which isn't really on here, this tier list, but Crix Camerat
that's true.
dies.
Yeah, I'm kind of placing both
Camerat
those
dies
together.
in that.
Crash Landing and
Yeah.
Crash and Burn, because they're basically a 2-issue arc.
Yeah.
Even though they're both
Okay.
considered one shots that
No,
are separate. Yeah, it's not on the list.
I have not finished
Yeah.
Tears of the Nameless. My library has not gotten that to me yet, so I can't rate that.
So this one, Tears of the Nameless, is pretty recent. I haven't.
But Nate,
to
you have
Is
read
this
it.
one
Where
all
would you
me?
put it?
It's going.
It's all you.
At least an
Spoiler
A.
free, please.
It's going to A for sure. It's going to A
okay.
for sure. Does it go to S?
Ooh, he's getting my hopes up.
That would.
That'd be awesome.
I
Would be.
don't think
no.
so. I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay. I was gonna say because like 5,
Solid
you have
A.
the 5 here.
I don't agree with some of those in S, anyways. I don't agree with some of those in S, but I'm
all right.
I'm going off of my own personal thing. The thing that drops Tears of the Nameless just a tiny bit is that the first act of this 500-page epic, the first act out of the 3-act structure, the first act is 260 pages of that 500. It takes so long to get to the next portion. It is so good. It's such a good book. But when you pick up Tears of the Nameless, you got to understand this is a commitment of a novel that you gotta just, yeah, it's a really good book. I love the book. It's an A tier book. But
Awesome.
but that first act is really good. It's just really long. It is so long. It has some really good stuff, and it's some of my favorite moments in all the High Republic. But man, it is a long one at points.
I'm
I
hearing
think
mid
Tyler has also read this, and he's texted me once or twice
no.
when he's like up late at night, and he's like, "I can't put the book down. This is crazy." So I'm like, I can't wait.
It's a great book. I mean, the first act is my least favorite part, but there's some really good stuff in it. But it's like you're reading that book to get the other reveals that we already know from various comics. So there's not a whole lot there that you don't already know if you've been reading all the books and comics. It's more about the characters and their journeys to get to the point where they're ready to learn this information and how that impacts them and others around them. And that stuff's really interesting as well. But
awesome.
Yeah.
So
Really good book, not S tier for me.
where do you want to slot it in the A tier then? So top of A tier, going top to bottom, Rising Storm, Path of the Seed, Convergence, Fallen Star. Do you want to put it in between or like above any of those?
I think for me personally, I would slot it right underneath Path of Deceit.
Okay.
Ooh. I was
Okay.
gonna say, I haven't even read it yet, and I'd put it above Fallen Star.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I would slot it in right there. Thinking how it stacks up to Path of Deceit, I think they're pretty much neck and neck in terms of the subject matter at hand. I don't think it's as good as Rising Storm, but it is just as cataclysmic, if you will.
And Nate, have you read at least what's come out, like the first 10 issues of High Republic Adventures Phase 3?
Yes, I have.
So we might as well just base it on.
Yeah, we can. I guess we can.
I don't like this series. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah,
I didn't want to leave anything off ranked,
Sure.
so it might as well
All
just
right.
throw it on there somewhere.
C is fine. C is totally fine.
Low C or a
Sorry.
high D.
Yeah. There's nothing
The Phase 3
overly
comics
bad
have
about
not-
it. It's just yeah.
Yeah.
The one saving comic so far in Phase 3 has been Echoes of Fear. I love that comic.
Echoes of
so
Fear.
far.
Yes.
It's basically the sequel to Tears of the Nameless, expanding on what we learned in that, and then pushing forward some other
That's what I
things from
read,
Quest of the
that, like-
Jedi, and so much.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool
like-
lore and the story.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Issue 1, we spend the entire time just with a new Sith Lord, for crying out
Darth
loud. It's just
Ravi.
really cool. He's such a cool character. And then issue 2
Yeah.
forwards other things. It's just really cool if you like ancient Star Wars history.
That's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So,
and so
yeah, it's
Echoes
right up
of
my
Fear.
alley.
Echoes of Fear is really fun. Until we get all 4 issues, it's hard to put in a tier list like this because it could fall apart.
Yeah.
But for right now, it's looking like this could be the standout comic from this phase. I don't see High Republic Adventures, the main series, stepping it up anytime soon.
Do we know how many issues that has? Is it 15?
No.
No.
It's actually more than that, right?
Oh no. So it's I believe it's going to end at either 17 or 18.
Oh.
The January solicits from Dark Horse basically set up that I believe it's issue 14 in January it comes out. I believe and in its solicit it says this is the final arc of the series. So
okay. So 14.
So either 17 or 18 is where that one's going to wrap up. So just a few more, Jay. You could do it. Just a few more reviews. Me and me when you're feeling down and don't want to suffer through it.
Okay, so that our bottom area is clear. Let's revisit this one last time. Let's talk about our top 5. Again, a lot of this, we're free to move around, but top 5: Cataclysm, Light of the Jedi, Temptation of the Force, The Blade, Path of Vengeance. I know Light of the Jedi, you two said like really, you guys really loved it. Would you put that above Cataclysm?
I would not put it above Cataclysm.
Okay, same. Yep.
For me, I would, but
Ooh,
you guys don't want it there, so I'm cool with it being lower.
I mean,
as I said earlier, I think as a complete package, I think Cataclysm trumps Light of the Jedi in that department. So, in terms of a quality book, Cataclysm might be a tad bit better, but my enjoyment of Light of the Jedi eclipses it. But I'm cool with that.
I think if I would swap anything, I might swap Path of Vengeance and The Blade. I don't know. I
I'm okay with
think I
that.
liked the book a little bit better than the comic, but obviously the comic is an S tier. It's very good. So
yeah, I'm okay with that. So
yeah,
we're good with S.
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
A tier. Any swaps?
Great question.
I mean, to be honest, like like when it comes to like S, A, and then even in between, there's not a whole lot of like different like. I think like
I'm honestly good with how it sits right now. I
Okay.
don't think I would.
Yeah, I think we did a good enough job when we were putting it in there initially.
All of these are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything in S and A are so good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. B tier. Anything we want to swap here? Do we want any of these to swap?
This is where it gets hairy. This is where it gets hairy. The mid. How does the mid stack up against the mid?
Anything we want to swap?
I really don't think there's. I don't even know if there's anything in B, C, and D that I would be switching.
I'm looking. Nothing standing out right off the bat.
You know what? I would put Tales of Enlightenment above Star Wars. I would switch those two.
Wait, say again. Sorry. What was
the D tier, which is the bottom.
In the D tier. Okay.
I would switch.
Oh, switch these two.
Yeah, Starlight Stories. And
Tyler lives. Mr. Bradshaw has joined us late.
Oh, here we go.
He was gonna
with his Path of Vengeance in the S tier over the Rising Storm and Convergence. Give me a break. Well, sir, it is your fault for being in the eye of a hurricane. So
I guess you could say he's in the eye of the storm.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have.
To be fair, I don't think Path of Vengeance is an S tier book, but you guys do. So
I'm gone one. So Tyler Bradshaw, I'm gone 1 week, and y'all have lost your minds with Path of Vengeance.
I am with you.
I will
on
say
that. I am
my
with
rankings
you, but
are real weird.
these guys overruled me.
I'll be honest. I really like Path of Vengeance.
My enjoyment of Phase 2 is really high. So, like, honestly,
yeah,
when I was ranking this on my own phone, I had the 4 like both young adults and both adults are all in S tier for me, honestly. So,
are we okay with this list? Any other big changes you guys want to make?
Lucasfilm will be grading.
Fallen Star is not an A tier book.
I knew he was going to say that too because he's not a fan of Fallen Star at all.
But does it belong in B with Tempest Runner?
But does it fall all the way down to B? Is it the top of B?
He would say it's mid B. He would say it's maybe in bottom.
It's pretty mid. You told me that's not the mid. If anything, I mean, come on. Come on.
I'm sorry. I'm not. Midnight Horizon to see. Yes, we are serious. That book sucks.
Here comes Tyler. Here comes Tyler going.
I enjoyed Midnight Horizon a lot.
It's
and I think
so
the more
average.
that you know, I think because High Republic Adventures is so good, I think that makes Midnight Horizon even better. I was going to say he's going to say Fallen Stars is a C.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Wow. No, you have lost your mind.
it's a solid A. It's not the best in A. It's a solid A. If anything, okay, look, if anything, I would do that.
It's kind of a hard read. I mean, a lot of death. Not much good happens in the book.
It's a tough read. It's definitely a tough read.
Yeah. So if anything, I would say like it's lower than the Edge of Balance manga. I love the Edge of Balance manga. In fact, I think like it's some of the best High Republic stuff. But even I think like, okay, you know, it's a solid A. Tempest Runner a B. I didn't enjoy it at all, says Fetchin.
I mean, I get that too. So I think the writing in Tempest Runner is really strong in terms of the characterizations of Lorna and her family and the Rowe family. I think that's really strong.
Yeah.
Where do you want to put it then? Maybe with Battle of Jeddah, but above it or below it? I say above it.
It's better than Battle of Jeddah, no doubt about that.
So I say, yeah, right there, huh? What do you guys think? Now we're really getting into
tier lists are hard, man.
Yeah, exactly. Right now we're really getting into the weeds, especially when you have this many books and you're like trying to recall what they all.
And so many of these are really good. So many of these are really good.
Okay, so let's final minutes because like we gotta wrap this up. Otherwise, we're gonna be here all night.
We gotta just put a stamp on it.
Yeah, we gotta put a stamp on it. Going so. Any last calls? Going once.
It's all about compromising.
Going twice.
This is a good, solid compromise.
There we go. There's our tier list. Am I allowed to ask if Jay has read Path of Vengeance? Yes, I have read Path of Vengeance, Tyler. And it's one of my favorite High Republic books. All right, that is our tier list, guys. We finally did it after about an hour of debating. There is our quote-unquote definitive tier list. I'll go ahead and save it. Nate, please go ahead and post this on Twitter. Tyler says I am appalled. So go ahead. This is gonna do numbers on Twitter.
I'm sure it will. There are so many High Republic fans on Twitter.
So please, go ahead. I'll go ahead and download this and I'll text it to you. I'll put it in the chat. But thank you so much, everyone. Thank you guys for all tuning in. I'll go ahead and I'll leave this up here while we talk so this can marinate with our audience. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Let us know if you think that we are absolutely out of our minds or if you agree with our take. Thank you to today's guests, Luke, Nate. Fetchin says, let's recap the S tier. Yeah, why not? So top 5: Cataclysm, Light of the Jedi, Temptation of the Force, Path of Vengeance, The Blade. Cataclysm, one of the best High Republic books in general.
Probably the most complete High Republic book out there.
Light of the Jedi, the one that started all, really great. Temptation of the Force, Tessa Gratson, great writing, great romance. Path of Vengeance, I know, kind of apparently pretty controversial here. But no, we love to hear. The Blade, one of the best High Republic comic books there is. In fact, if you go by this list, it is the best High Republic comic. Porter Engle, great character. With that, what are you all looking forward to as far as High Republic?
Tempest Breaker.
It's another one. Yep. Nate, exactly. How about you?
I wish the comic that preceded Tempest Breaker was better so I could look forward to Tempest Breaker. But of course, Trials of Jedi.
I was kind of joking there.
Coming up, Trials of Jedi. Actually, I'm pretty certain Tempest Breaker is going to be pretty good. You give Kevin Scott more time and more space to write, he usually is able to come up with something pretty good. And
that's what he started doing Doctor Who audio drama. He's gonna kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his 2 High Republic novels are near the top of our tier list. Meanwhile, his comics are kind of not there at all. So that should tell you he's a much better long form writer than he is something else. So
His Phase 1
Tyler.
comics were great.
Yep. Can't wait for Claudia Gray High Republic Redemption in 2025.
We'll
Into the
see if that
light.
happens.
Into the light. I'm looking forward to seeing. Honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing what Valiant Vow, the final middle grade book and Into the Light are even about, because I'm very curious as to who they focus on and so on and so forth, because those are the last time we're going to see those characters, whoever they may be. So I'm curious to see where they go with those two books.
Barash Sylvain maybe comes back in a Valiant Vow, Barash Vow reference.
Maybe.
Because she is alive.
Maybe. That's not a bad shout. That's not a bad shout. But in a middle grade book,
Absolutely,
maybe?
they're going to do
I
it.
don't know.
They have no room else.
I mean, I can imagine, because that is the Justina Ireland book, that's probably going to be the Vernestra book, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And she still has that secret path that what's her face put her on. So maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we could spend another 2 hours talking about all this stuff, but
we're gonna have to do a High Republic Endgame predictions show.
Oh yeah,
I would love to. I would love to.
So, thank you again so much for tuning in to Star Wars News and Live. The show premieres and goes on air every 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 11. I'm in Hawaii, so like I having to do like the time conversion changes. It's a little bit difficult, but 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time. And again, we want to thank you all so much for joining in on the conversation on our YouTube chat, on Twitter. Thank you so much. We do have even more stuff like this coming up. You can check out our YouTube channel for the Monday podcast, which usually goes over a different discussion, talking about news, usually just one topic, completely in depth. And then we also have, I believe, the Timeline Show as well. Every Saturdays, I believe, Luke. Is that correct?
Yep. The Timeline Show is every Saturday. We go through each canon story in Star Wars. And so that is, right now we are in the High Republic. So I have been living and breathing the High Republic for quite a while now. So yes, indeed.
Tyler is saying Light of the Jedi breakdown Saturday. Oh wow, there we go. Perfect timing. Going into the High Republic.
Pod on it. We had a really good time with that.
Oh, awesome. So be sure to check that out again on Saturday on our YouTube channel. And all of our podcasts do go up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify for those who don't catch it, or for Star Wars News and Live who don't catch it live. But either way, thank you again. One last shout out before we go. You can check my channel out, Good Games Dude, which is a video game channel dedicated to helping newcomers and expert gamers grow in their appreciation of video games. I just did a video on The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Feel free to check that out if you're a Zelda fan. This next week, I'll be doing a video on Silent Hill 2 Remake. So again, thank you so much to all of you for joining us. Thank you again, Luke, Nate, for hopping on. We will see you guys next week. May the Force be with you all. Have a good night.
See you guys.